An internet blackout has hit Afghanistan, with local media reporting a potential nationwide cut of fibre optic services as part of a Taliban crackdown. It's the first time Afghanistan has experienced a shutdown of this kind since the Taliban seized power in August 2021. Earlier this month, several provinces lost their fibre optic connections after the Taliban issued a decree which bans the service to prevent what it says is immorality. For more on this, I'm joined live from London by journalist and author Lynne O'Donnell. Lynne, always great to speak to you. It's been a little over 4 years since the Taliban re-established its dominance across Afghanistan. Why have they chosen to go with this shutdown now?
I think there's probably a few reasons. One is that the Supreme Leader, Hibatullah Akhundzada, has been rolling out decrees. He rules by decree. There's been a couple of hundred of those orders, including, as we know, things like not letting women work, leave their homes, go to school, etc. And it's all gradual. But as the time has passed, he's become apparently more paranoid. He has his seat of power in Kandahar in the south, not in Kabul, which is further north and where rivals to his power are based. And he has great support from the Iranian regime, militarily and financially. And he knows that there are pretenders to his throne, as it were. He also is extremely religious, ignorant, isolated. And one of the things that he has been wanting to do is make sure that Afghan people do not have access to the outside of the country. And also that, you have an army of young men who've been raised in madrasas in the Hindu Kush since they were children, and suddenly, they take over a country by force and they've got access to the internet but lock up all the women. And of course, there's been an explosion of access to online pornography. That's what is meant by access to immoral material, and him wanting to enforce morality. But there's also other things. The Taliban is very close and always has been to Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda has re-energized in Afghanistan and is running a lot of jihadist training camps where militants are coming from all over the world to train in Afghanistan. So, it cuts off potentially, or this is the plan, it stops people knowing what's going on in Afghanistan, and it stops Afghan people from connecting to the outside world.
Now, last year, Afghanistan had touted its fibre optic cable network as a means to bring the country closer to the rest of the world and to lift it out of poverty. Who will this blackout hit the hardest?
Ordinary people, of course. I've been trying to get in touch with people this morning on not only on WhatsApp, the Wi-Fi network, but also on ordinary phone lines, and they don't just ring out. They're dead. There is nothing going in. It's also affected satellite TV, banking. ATMs don't work, things like passport offices, biometrics, getting in and out of the country. Flights are being suspended this morning, flights in and out of Kabul, because the airports are being disrupted. This basically turns Afghanistan into what North Korea was 20 years ago when I went there a couple of times while I was based in China. It's a dead zone. It is black, and it affects ordinary people, of course, the most. But what we're hearing now, or what I'm hearing from people outside the country, is that there may be some intra net that is accessible only to Taliban leaders and people that they favour and allow access to. That's a possibility. And also Starlink is also a possibility, Elon Musk's satellite system, which isn't available in Afghanistan at the moment, but there could be some way, of course, to connect high-level people. As we know, Qatar, which is the biggest supporter of terrorism and terrorist organisations in the world, is very close to the Taliban, and they have their primary political outward-facing office there. So there is a possibility that the high leadership can have their own system, as they have their own laws, and the rest of the people who are already suffering terribly just go without.
Lynne, you've spent a lot of time in Afghanistan itself. Obviously, the country has endured quite a lot over the years. How are Afghans likely to cope under these conditions, basically being cut off from the rest of the world?
Well, I think, like any normal people, if you're in excuse me, very bad circumstances anyway, you have no job, you have no money, the women in your family are locked up. Your boys are going to school and learning how to be little jihadists under a Taliban-controlled education system. You can't get out of the country. People that you know can't get into the country. And now suddenly you can't even make a phone call or send an email. I mean, this is just the psychological impact is something that we're just not going to be able to do anything more than imagine.
How else have people in Afghanistan been accessing news and other material apart from using the internet?
Well, on their phones, of course, but that's it. It's the way we do it everywhere. You've got TV, satellite TV. There are Persian, Pashto, and English language satellite television services that broadcast news almost exclusively about Afghanistan, and certainly for an almost exclusively Afghan viewership. So they won't be able to connect anymore. I'm talking about the BBC's Persian language service and the private networks like Afghanistan International. That's all over and out. Even internally, organisations that have relied on satellite connections like Tolo and Ariana and others, that's out as well. So, we're talking about severe cut-off and isolation.
Finally, Lynne, the Taliban has mentioned an alternative internet access route in the past. The current one is over 9,000 kilometres of fibre optic cable. It was built with the backing of the US. Is it even possible for the Taliban to match that?
Well, it won't be the Taliban themselves. It'll be their backers. They're very close to the Chinese Communist Party, which has been a great supporter of the Taliban since their inception in the 1990s. They may help. They've certainly helped other countries like Pakistan, which is on the eastern border of Afghanistan, the Iranians, the Russians. They have friends in the region. We're talking about rogue actors in comparison to, the freedoms that the West tried to bring to Afghanistan for 20 years. But I think if there is something to be gained by the Pakistanis, by the Chinese, by the Russians, then that's where the help will come from. But it will likely be exclusive because those governments are all about control of the populace. In China and Pakistan, as we know, access to internet is very severely curtailed, and I would expect that if access to the outside world is allowed again in the near future in Afghanistan, it'll certainly be with caveats and controls.
Journalist and author Lynne O'Donnell, thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you.